No, no, просто на секунду, потому что не стало.
Что ты хочешь? Stop.
Мама хочет, чтобы я ее пиджаке тоже ставил. Оля, поди. Оля, на году?
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm running this ceremony with Sean. I just wanted to give you a heads up that the firing demo will be more at the end, so in about half an hour is the firing demo, and they're going to be right there where you see. They're going to be firing, not at us, but it'll look a little bit like it's at us. So just to let you know about
When
that.
that takes place, would I be able to get right next to that?
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'll just be right next to this light rifle. Wearing some non-actually red coat. If you need me, my name's Peter. That's good. But that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Just give it to me. And I'm like, don't even, I don't even know what I do. Yeah. $15. Or whatever it is. Yeah. Sometimes it's back here. Oh, okay. So you already told me the other piece. Now you tell me what not to do. Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so, yeah.
Good morning. What a beautiful day we have here at the Alamo. So I'm Dr. Kate Rogers, the Executive Director of the Alamo Trust, and it's my distinct honor to welcome you all to the 188th Annual Commemoration Opening Ceremony of the Battle of the Alamo. Today marks the beginning of the 12-day siege that led up to the iconic Battle of the Alamo that took place in 1836. On this very day, the defenders faced the arrival of the Mexican army, aware of their disadvantage yet resolute in their quest for liberty. To commemorate and honor their valor, the Alamo Trust is spearheading the ambitious $550 million Alamo plan, and as you can see, there is much construction underway. However, this monumental project is dedicated to preserving the 300-year-old church, the Long Barrack, and establishing a world-class visitor center and museum that will be located just behind where you all are sitting today. Our journey to date has included last year's grand opening of the Alamo exhibit at the Ralston Family Collection Center, and I'm incredibly proud to announce that starting today, for a limited time, this center is hosting the iconic Victory or Death letter penned by none other than Colonel William B. Travis. The return of the Travis letter is a momentous occasion, marking only the second time it has been brought back to this site since it was written here in 1836. The 188th Alamo commemoration of the battle begins today and runs through March 6th. We invite you to join us in a series of events that bridge the past with the present, celebrating the bravery and sacrifice of those who stood at this historic site. Highlights of these events include Never Surrender or Retreat on February 24th, a tribute featuring musician William Beckman, who will actually read the Colonel Travis letter in this place where I'm standing here now, followed by the immersive Evening with Heroes event led by Angela Wolfgren and our amazing Living History team, and offering a candlelit journey through the Alamo grounds. Family Day on February 25th promises fun, interactive activities for visitors of all ages, educating our attendees about the realities of the 12-day siege. Activities continue with a special tribute to the arrival of the Immortal 32 from Gonzales, which happens on March 1st, next Friday, and the events culminate with Dawn at the Alamo on March 6th, a somber and solemn ceremony remembering the Defenders' ultimate sacrifice. These events, all free and open to the public, aim to deepen our awareness and understanding of our shared heritage and ensure that the Alamo spirit endures for many generations to come. It is now my privilege to introduce a distinguished community leader whose dedication to our mission is both profound and personal. Commissioner Grant Moody, a fourth-generation veteran with a commendable career in both the private and public sectors, is the chairman of the Alamo's Museum Planning Committee. His military background, combined with his visionary leadership, his commitment to service, is instrumental in working with our historians to develop the narrative which will inform the development of the 8 galleries that will be located inside the future Visitor Center and Museum. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Commissioner Grant Moody to the podium.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rogers, and thank you for your leadership in putting today together and all the work that you're doing on the new Museum and Visitor Center. Good morning to everyone here. Good morning, San Antonio. Welcome to this solemn and significant ceremony. As a proud Texan, a servant of Bexar County, and a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, the story of the Alamo resonates with me in a deeply personal way. It's a story of courage, of sacrifice, and an unyielding commitment to a cause greater than oneself. In my 10 years as a Marine F-18 pilot with deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, I learned firsthand the weight of responsibility and the price of freedom. These experiences have shaped my approach to service, both in uniform and in my roles at USAA and Valero, and now as your Bexar County Commissioner. The valor of the Alamo Defenders inspires me, reminding us all of that spirit of resilience and determination which is timeless. As the honored chairman of the Alamo's Museum Planning Committee, I have the distinct honor of working with stakeholders right here in our community, working to weave the threads of our past into a narrative that will educate and inspire. The future Visitor Center and Museum, featuring 8 galleries, will not only tell the story of those 13 days in 1836, but will also delve into the 300-year history of this sacred site. It is a responsibility I bear with great humility and dedication. My military service has taught me the importance of preserving history, not just as a record of past events, but as a guidepost for future generations. The lessons of the Alamo, of standing firm against overwhelming odds, of unity and sacrifice for a common goal, are as relevant today as they were in 1836. In developing the museum's narratives, we strive to honor those who fought and died here, and ensure their legacies endure. As we look forward to the unveiling of the new Visitor Center Museum in 2027, I invite each of you to join us in this journey of preservation and education. Your support, whether through engagement, contributions, or simply sharing the story of what happened on these grounds is invaluable. Together we can ensure the spirit of the Alamo and the ideals that it represents continue to inspire courage, integrity, and the pursuit of liberty for generations to come. Thank you so much for being here today, for honoring the legacy of those who stood defiantly in the face of adversity right here on these grounds. Let us move forward with the same courage and unity displayed by the defenders of the Alamo, ensuring that their sacrifice is remembered not just in the pages of history, but in the heart of every person who walks these hallowed grounds. In closing, I extend my heartfelt thanks again to all those involved in the Alamo plan, Dr. Rogers, the dedicated staff, volunteers, our partners and supporters across the state of Texas. Your contributions are shaping a future where the Alamo continues to educate, inspire, and remind us of the profound cost of liberty. Thank you, and God bless Texas.
Thank you, Commissioner, again for being here today and for the time and commitment that you have devoted to the Museum Planning Committee. In addition to the Honorable Commissioner, we also have a number of other esteemed guests with us here today. So many representatives and friends I see from the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. Can we please give them a hand? I'm always reminded when we're at one of these events and feel very blessed because we would not be here today were it not for the leadership, the service, the commitment of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas who took care of this site for more than 100 years. So thank you, ladies, for being here today. Also want to thank, yes, of course, Martha. And I also want to thank and welcome our friends from the Sons of the Republic of Texas, many of whom have been involved with the Alamo in a number of different ways. So let's please give a warm welcome to our friends from the Sons. We also have with us a number of representatives from the Canary Islands Family Descendants Association. So can we please give them a warm round of applause? It was originally 15 families from the Canary Islands who settled the city of San Antonio, now the 7th largest in the United States, and it all started with those brave souls who made the journey from off the coast of Africa to this blessed place we all stand today. Finally, we have representatives from the Alamo Defenders Descendants Association with us. Can we please give them also a warm round of applause? As I mentioned earlier, we're very lucky and excited that the Travis letter has made its way back to the Alamo, and that is all thanks to our friends at the State Archives. The director is with us today, Jelaine Chubb, who is the State Archivist and Director of the Archives and Information Services Division of the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, who is the holder of this incredible artifact. Jelaine will be speaking on the famous letter, and as I mentioned, you guys can come see it once the ceremony is over inside the new Ralston Family Collection Center. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Jelaine Chubb.
Thank you very much, Kate. One day into the bombardment, the Alamo, the 26-year-old commander of the makeshift fortress, William Barrett Travis, addressed a letter to the people of Texas and all Americans in the world. Dated February 24, 1836, the Travis letter has become the single most revered and studied document in Texas history. The Travis letter has been exhibited on various occasions since it was acquired by the state in 1893. Charged with the long-term protection of this Texas treasure, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission is dedicated to making this iconic artifact available to the public, while at the same time ensuring its preservation for future generations of Texans and scholars. Understanding the physical nature of that document lends an appreciation for the delicate balance between preservation and access. William Barrett Travis wrote his letter on a single sheet of handmade paper, folded in half to make 2 pages. It was subsequently folded several more times to make it smaller for the 2 couriers who carried it from the Alamo to Gonzales and then to San Felipe. Over time, the paper has become weak and brittle along numerous fold lines. The paper is also inherently acidic, and over time, this acidity has a destructive effect on the fibers in the paper. Additionally, the iron gall ink that Travis used is strongly acidic due to the tannic acid that was used to make it. In fact, over time, it can become corrosive and burn through the paper on which it is applied. The ink is also susceptible to natural aging and light exposure. Originally purplish brown or black in color, Travis's words have faded to a tannish brown. When you go to see the letter, take a look at it and imagine the sides of it being much, much darker. The Texas State Library and Archives Commission employs state-of-the-art conservation treatment and environmental controls to protect and preserve the Travis letter. Because light damage is cumulative and irreversible, the Travis letter is stored in a light-free environment. When it is displayed, the letter is protected from harmful ultraviolet or UV light by multiple layers of filtering. TSLAC also controls, monitors, and records the temperature and the relative humidity of the storage and exhibition environments. This judicious approach to long-term preservation is what will continue to make this fragile letter a tangible link to the past for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jelaine, for your incredible leadership and also for your partnership in bringing the Travis letter here so people can enjoy it for the next few weeks. It is now my pleasure to introduce my friend and Ernesto Rodriguez, our senior curator, historian, and lecturer here at the Alamo. With over 23 years of experience working at the Alamo, I always say there's no one that knows more about the history of everything that happened here than Ernesto. He has dedicated his life and his career to preserving and sharing the rich history of this iconic site. Please welcome Ernesto Rodriguez.
Good morning. Discussion of war must include information about both sides. There are living historians here today to represent and remember the Mexican soldiers and the Texan soldiers as they would have appeared in the early 19th century. The names of many of the soldiers who fought and died for their country are lost to history. We know that some of the battalions suffered horrific casualties attempting to take the fort under heavy showers of canister. Though some brushed off the event as a small affair, for many on the ground, the engagement with the enemy would be indelibly pressed into their memories. On the morning of March 6th, some companies in these battalions would lose as many as a third of the men as they fought to retake the fort which Centralist forces had lost to the Texans not 3 months prior. The battalions committed to the siege and the taking of the fortress were as follows: the Aldama Permanent Battalion, the San Luis Active Battalion, the Toluca Active Battalion, the Zapadores Battalion, the Dolores Cavalry, the Matamoros Permanent Battalion, the Jimenez Permanent Battalion, Veracruz and Coahuila Cavalry, and the Presidiales of the Rio Grande. On February 23rd, the Mexican Army arrived in San Antonio. While many of the town's citizens left the area as quickly as possible, the young commander, William Barrett Travis, ordered a full retreat into the Alamo. Upon their arrival to the abandoned San Fernando Cathedral or church, the Mexican Army raised a red flag to show that no quarter, no mercy would be offered. In response, a shot was fired from the cannon toward the town. The siege of the Alamo had begun. Couriers or messengers sent to the Mexican Army by both James Bowie and Travis were met with the same response: surrender at discretion or be put to the sword. Santa Anna's aide-de-camp writes to James Bowie, "I reply to you, according to the order of His Excellency, that the Mexican Army cannot come to terms under any conditions with rebellious foreigners to whom there is no recourse left. If they wish to save their lives, than to place themselves immediately at the disposal of the supreme government, from whom alone they may expect clemency after some considerations. Dios y libertad. The firing of the first shot from the Alamo set the stage for what would be the Battle of the Alamo. The Mexican army had orders to not provide quarter for anyone taking up arms against them, and the firing of a shot from the Alamo fort had sealed the defender's fate. The Mexican army now prepared to lay siege to the Alamo and in the end attack it. Today, we will have living historians talking about the Mexican army, the Texian army, and life in general inside the Alamo walls. They will be in the back gardens of the Alamo. Please join us to continue learning about this important siege and battle. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto, for your words and for all that you do for the Alamo. We're going to hear now from a number of various historians talking about the important events that happened and unfolded over the next 12 days. First, we'll hear from Martha Fleitas, a distinguished member of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. Over the years, Martha has served in a variety of positions within the organization, including District 7 representative and historian general, demonstrating her passion for preserving our state's rich history. She is currently the second vice president of the Alamo Mission chapter of the Daughters, as well as the co-chair of the Library Committee for the statewide organization. Please welcome Martha Fleitas.
Thank you, Kate. She's always so nice to me. I'm not too sure why some days. In 1891, two cousins met in Galveston. One was 37, the other 23. Both were descendants of Texas veterans of the Revolution. Both were concerned about the dwindling number of veterans who were trying to keep our history alive. These two young women decided to form an organization of women, daughters and granddaughters of these patriots. They determined that their objective would be to perpetuate the memory and spirit of the men and women who achieved and maintained the independence of Texas, to encourage historical research into the earlier records of Texas. Come to our library, you can see those. To promote the celebration of March the 2nd, Texas Independence Day, and April the 21st, San Jacinto Day, and to secure and hallow historic spots by erecting monuments, and to cherish and preserve the unity of Texas. Very lofty ideals, but by 1907, at the last Veterans Association meeting in Goliad, the last 6 remaining veterans voted that owing to the increasing infirmities of age, votes were cast for the dissolution of the association, but they resolved that the holy memories clinging around it should be merged into that patriotic association, the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. These veterans said that they relied upon the daughters who would survive them to keep their memories, deeds, and precious legacy to be held in trust forever. The Alamo Mission chapter was organized here in San Antonio in 1906. Why Alamo Mission for a name? These daughters, my chapter, were committed to the conservation and preservation of the Alamo, with free public access to the shrine, to preserve its history, and to encourage historical research into the men and women who are here within its walls. Even though the conservator of the Alamo has changed, and we're happy for that, make no misunderstanding, we remain committed to always doing our part for the Alamo and for Texas history. In 1906, the Alamo Mission chapter held its first celebration of March 2nd, Texas Independence Day. We still honor that special day, and we invite all of you to attend Texas Independence Day in front of San Fernando Cathedral on Saturday, March 2nd at 11 a.m. A local school is always honored by the daughters on Texas Independence Day. This year, Providence Catholic Schools are being honored. Please come to the Cathedral Plaza and help us honor these students. Alamo Mission's pilgrimage to the Alamo originally began on San Jacinto Day in 1918. It has become an official fiesta event and is held on the first Monday of Fiesta, usually close to April 21st, San Jacinto Day. Again, we are remembering our history. This ceremony is a solemn event with participants from all segments and cultures of our diverse community, all remembering and honoring past and present defenders of freedom. The pilgrimage takes place here on Alamo grounds. In 1909, the chapter decorated the first carriage for the Battle of Flowers Parade, and by 1925, Alamo Mission began its association with the Battle of Flowers citywide celebration of Texas history. This parade is a fun-filled event for our city, but each float, each carriage stops in front of the Alamo. They leave a floral offering in silence. We honor, we remember. In 1936, the Alamo Mission began honoring Heroes of the Alamo annually on March the 6th, Alamo Heroes Day. Members of the military will carry flags representing each state that gave their sons for the freedom of the Alamo and Texas. Junior ROTC students from local high schools will carry the flags of nations representing men who died at the Alamo. This year, students from Central Catholic will carry these flags. Last year, students from Sidney Lanier High School carried the flags of nations. Here in Military City, USA, a general from one of the bases or posts will speak about our Alamo defenders. This is an event not to be missed. Alamo Mission has two sister chapters here in San Antonio, Alamo Couriers and Alamo Heroes. Both participate in these days of remembrance during the siege of the Alamo. The Alamo Couriers hold the Voices of the Alamo annually, telling the story of the women and children who were in the Alamo Church during the siege. The Couriers also sponsor a fiesta event, educational program for children held at Casa Navarro, home of the Texas patriot Jose Navarro. The Alamo Heroes DRT chapter holds an annual San Jacinto Victory Celebration in front of the Alamo Cenotaph. In addition to a speaker, these daughters toast the victory of San Jacinto. I thank the members of the Alamo Trust and the Alamo staff for the opportunity to speak today. I encourage each of you to attend the Alamo events held during our Texas High Holy Days. And if anyone present would like to join the daughters, we would welcome you. We are a diverse group of women, old, young, and in between. Many of our members descend from defenders and veterans, but many had ancestors who were simply citizens, good citizens of the Republic prior to February the 19th, 1846. My ancestors came across the Rio Grande from southern Mexico with Jose Escandon during the 1700s, and we just stayed. Thank you. Dios y Tejas.
Thank you, Martha, and to all members of the DRT who are in attendance today for your incredible stewardship and your protection of our shared history. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Pat Mota, Anthony Delgado, and Diane Baird Barger, all descendants of Toribio Lozoya. And Toribio is the only defender who was born just outside the walls of the Alamo Fort and also died here, so very important to the story. As descendants, these folks have a unique and personal connection to the history of this site. Please welcome Pat, Anthony, and Diane.
Hello, my name is Patricia Mota, and I'm joined today by my cousins Anthony and Diane. We are all descendants of the Lozoya family. The Siege of Bear and the Battle of the Alamo are the focus of our heritage today. Our ancestors, the Lozoya family, came to the Mission de Valero by Spanish royal decree. The family was granted parcels of land in the Alamo compound and surrounding areas. Under Spanish rule, Sergeant Manuel Antonio de Lozoya defended the Presidio de los Aves in East Texas in 1731. His sons Manuel, Miguel, and Seferino battled along the east border of Texas against warring indigenous tribes and deterred French encroachment. Jose Domingo Lozoya, his grandson, was born at Mission de Valero. He joined with Andrew Jackson and Davy Crockett in the Battle of New Orleans in 1815. In 1835, the Mexican army, he fought with Ben Milam in the Siege of Bear. The present-day town of Lozoya was granted to him in 1839 by the Republic of Texas. Sergeant Manuel Antonio's great-grandson, Jose Toribio Lozoya, was born at Mission de Valero in 1808. In 1835, he fought General Cos with Juan Seguin and his volunteers at Mission Concepcion in the Siege of Bear. Jose Toribio fought and died alongside Davy Crockett at the Battle of the Alamo, defending the southeast coast by the chapel. Concepcion Charlie Lozoya and Juana Melton, Toribio's mother and sister, tended to those who were wounded in the chapel. Every generation experiences battles or wars. The most devastating and memorable are the conflicts that are witnessed by families that are attacked where they live. Those who survive are driven to honor the bravery and fortitude of those defenders. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who restore peace by sacrifice of themselves for the sake of others.
Prima, Director Rogers, thank you so much for allowing us an opportunity to share a little bit of our history, and to your wonderful staff for all that they've done today and will do over the next 13 days. Thank you so much. I want to apologize up front. My friends call me a riullon because I cry a lot when I talk about family. So I'll try to do my best to get through this. Jose Maria Arrocha, Manuel Arrocha, Simón Arriola, Andrés Bárcenas, Cesario Carmona, Agapito Cervantes, Matías Corbier, Martín Delgado, Lucio Enríquez, Salvador Flores, Manuel Flores, Nepomuceno Navarro, his sisters Gertrudis and Juana Navarro, Ambrosio Rodriguez, Juan Seguin, Manuel Tarín. Those are only a few of the names of the Tejanos and the Tejanas who participated in the 1835 Battle of Concepcion, the Siege of Béjar, were here at the Alamo, or were on the battlefield at San Jacinto. And they survived. The revolutionary events of 1835 and 1836 were not their first rodeo. You see, the names I just mentioned, their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their uncles, their tías, their primos, their grandparents were also involved in Texas's first revolution 2 decades prior in 1813. The atrocities that befell them following the failed 1813 revolution didn't deter them from rising up for independence' sake when they heard the call. these patriots were quite familiar for the fight for independence and surviving, while some of their Tejano compatriots were not as fortunate. I'm not surprised if the names that I read to you aren't familiar to you. They weren't familiar to me either until I did my family's history research. But you don't have to be bothered with the hundreds of thousands of hours of genealogy to learn about these Tejano and Tejana patriots. But I do beseech you over the next couple of weeks, as you dive yourself into and immerse yourself into the history of the Alamo and its battle of 1836, to learn as much as you can about these and the other patriots. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Diane Baird Barker. We know that 118 years before the Battle of the Alamo, in 1718, the Alarcon and his 35 Presidio soldiers and his friars founded this mission. That is where our Lozoya, the story began. One of those soldiers was Cristobal Carvajal, our 10th generation great-grandfather, who is also Kate Rogers' great-grandfather as well. One of his descendants was Maria de Estrada, who married a Frenchman, Pierre or Pedro Charlet, who was the mission carpenter and barber. They lived in the southwest corner of the mission, and in 1786, their home and the surrounding property were land granted to them by the church. Now let's jump forward 50 years from that year to 1836. There were 13 women and children who survived the battle on March 6th within the walls of the Alamo sacristy. We know that 2 of those women survivors were our great-grandmothers. The first in our line is Concepcion Charlet. Born to Pedro and Maria Estrada Charlet, descendant of that 1718 Presidio soldier I mentioned, she married Juan Ventura Lozoya in 1804. Concepcion Lozoya's youngest son, Juan Anselmo, was a little brother of Toribio, and he was a 10-year-old survivor out of those other 10 children that survived. His mother, Concepcion, had inherited the western part of the Alamo compound to the San Antonio River, the home and land that was deeded to their Charlet grandparents in 1786, which Juan Anselmo later deeded to the city of San Antonio for Lozoya Street. The second woman survivor in our line is Victoriana Herrera Rocha Salinas. She and her 3 daughters, Luisa, Nicolosa, Juana Rocha, all survived the battle. A little known fact about our 2 survivor families is that we descend from, is that 2 of the survivor children, Juan Anselmo Lozoya and Juana Rocha, grew up and married. Had neither of those 2 children survived that battle of the Alamo, Pat and I would not be here. For me, this day not only commemorates those that fell here on the day of the battle, but to also honor and remember all those that came before them that made the Alamo worth fighting for. The Alamo ancestors, who for 118 years before the battle made it their home, their mission, their sanctuary, and their final resting place. God bless Texas.
Thank you so much, Pat, Anthony, and Diane, for those beautiful words and for your attendance here today. Our next distinguished speaker is Lee Spencer White, president of the Alamo Defenders Descendants Association, a group that consists of the descendants of the men who fought and died at the Battle of the Alamo. Lee is a direct descendant of Defender Gordon C. Jennings. With her familial connection to the battle, she has a deep personal investment in preserving the history and the memory of the Alamo and its defenders. Please welcome Lee Spencer White.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers, for your leadership. It has been amazing, the things you've been able to accomplish. And to all of the staff, thank you very much. My Alamo defender is Gordon C. Jennings, the oldest man in the Alamo. He was in his 50s, and he had a wife and 3 young children near what is today Bastrop. After the fall of the Alamo, when the family learned of the death of the garrison, one of his children were placed on the back of a horse and told to go warn the neighbors. And this little 10-year-old rode for 20 miles alone through the prairies to warn the neighbors. So that was little Katie Jennings, and she's known as the Little Texas Paul Revere. Our organization represents the proven bloodline of the defenders, not only the defenders, but the scouts, the couriers, and the survivors. So we represent all the men, all the women, all the children, and whether your name is Abamio or Crockett, you qualify for our organization. The legend of the Alamo battle spread like wildfire after March 6, 1836, far beyond the wilds of Texas into the United States and around the world. From the beginning, tourists flocked to this site to pay homage to a band of men who courageously stood against tyranny and sacrificed their lives, one and all, for freedom. Soon, the Alamo became known as the cradle of Texas liberty, a symbol of freedom. The cry, "Remember the Alamo," was first heard at the Battle of San Jacinto, where Texans won their independence. Today, the Alamo's defenders are immortalized as Texas heroes, and rightfully so. And that is why you will hear the cry, "Remember the Alamo," by Texans and people all over the world. For us, the direct descendants of those heroes, their deeds are a great source of pride. Yet, our sentiments for this place stretch beyond pride for a band of heroes. They were our grandfathers. To the Alamo bloodline, this now iconic site strikes at the heart of our families. The Alamo walls and this very ground has been stained with the blood of our ancestors. The Alamo is simply and always will be to the Alamo descendants our family cemetery. It is my hope that God will always bless this site and that people will always remember the sacrifice made here. And in these terrible, troubling times in Texas, may God bless Texas.
Thank you, Lee. And once again, let's give a warm round of applause for all of our distinguished speakers who are with us this morning. As I hope you've heard, there is great power in gathering each year to remember and to honor the participants of this incredibly important historical event. As Texans, it's no secret that we are proud of our heritage and the values that the Alamo represents: courage, sacrifice, and determination. These values continue to inspire all of us today. Before we close this morning's ceremony, we have a special treat. I believe some of our living historians are going to offer a musket fire, which will mark the official beginning of the commemoration period. All right, a warm round of applause, please, for our living historians. They do such a great job. And to Angela, our incredible director of living history. So it's official. The journey towards March the 6th has begun. If you'd like to learn more about any of the events that are coming up, you can always visit our website at thealamo.org. And don't forget, I hope you'll be here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. when William Beckman will be here to read the famous Travis letter. And don't forget, it's on display inside the Ralston Family Collection Center. Thank you again for your attendance. Have a blessed day. And don't forget to remember the Alamo.
Colby showed me the door open. It's so fantastic.
We're real proud of it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you got started already? Nice of you all.
Nice to meet you.
This is going to be your shot here.
How you feel about this?
My card, and if you email me, I will have
Better background, but the backlit is just the time of day. Yeah, I need to get video of that anyway, because they talked about that stream. I am wondering, the next big windstorm, which way is that? That's going to come down.
They're Mexican citizens. Time off almost like by Travis Park. Remember that 1 year where it all came down?
Do you guys not want the Alamo, or is it too bright? So we also have the chair of the museum planning committee.